Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Jim.
I think Bill is having some problems getting in.
There he is. The link that's on the website, I actually used that to log in this morning to make sure it works. So that is the,
There he is. I see him. He's coming. I used the link on the sheet that you sent out, Jason, with all the links on it.
that's the
worked.
same, that's the same one that I have uploaded on the city website.
Okay.
Morning.
Morning.
We're still having people join. I'm admitting them as they're
Okay.
popping up.
Okay. No problem.
I was having a little trouble getting signed on here, but can you hear me?
Yeah.
And good morning.
Looks like somehow I've signed on twice.
Yeah, there are two of you.
How do you delete this one?
I'm going to. Let's see if there's a way to. I'm gonna put you in the.
Well, we're still waiting on Bruce, right?
We are.
Video.
Jason, let's wait one more minute, then we probably need to get started because we only have half hour to do this, unless, I mean, it can go longer, but that's all we scheduled.
Okay. Well, I am admitting people as they pop up, and nobody else has came forward yet, but.
Okay. Well, now we can't see Ed, but I see his name. Okay, Jason, we're going to go ahead and get started. I know it's going to be difficult for you to talk and admit, but I know you can do it.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
Well,
good
good morning, Madam Mayor, Council. Good morning, everybody in attendance. This is our first public hearing on the proposed 2022 general fund budget, the enterprise fund, as well as the marketing. And what I will do, Madam Mayor, if it's okay, I'll just give a very brief overview, anybody has any questions, we'll attempt to answer. If we go long, please, anyone feel free to contact me after the meeting, and I'll be glad to answer those questions.
Jason, may I make one statement before you start?
Yes, ma'am.
As you see, we're offering our public hearing on Zoom, and it's due to a very, very active COVID-19 infections that are currently in our valley. We checked with our attorney and with our GMA rep to see, to check the legality for offering our hearings on Zoom. It was approved by both entities. So due to this hearing being on Zoom, I want to make it as easy as possible for our participants, our citizen participants, to ask questions and make comments. If you want to make a comment or a question, simply type in the chat comment or question, and Jason will open up the audio of you wanting to talk and let you in, so that you don't have to type all this. So we thought that would be a better way of doing it. Okay, Jason, take it away.
Good morning, Madam Mayor. The first thing I want to talk about is the proposed general fund budget for 2022. I feel like we've drafted a very responsible budget. The anticipated total revenue for next year is $1,380,459. That does represent a 23% or $259,000 increase over this year's budget. However, I want to note the diversification of that increase. The county did do a reassessment of all properties this year, holding the millage rate the same. That will generate an extra $88,000. Approximately $80,000 is anticipated to be in the sale of several city properties. We've identified about 8 or 10 properties that the city owns. These properties do have values. We do have people that are interested in purchasing these properties. That 80,000 might be very conservative, but however, I would rather be a little low than high. 51,000 of that would be in American Rescue Funds. We did receive 51,000 this year. We should get the other part of that next year. $20,000 is the increase in hotel motel. That has to do with timing. We obviously last year with COVID lockdowns, it was a little low, but we've had a very robust, people are visiting the city. That's anticipated to generate around, I believe, 62,000 by the end of this year. We keep 60% of that, which would be about 37,000. We took 16,000 this year, so that'd be about a 21,000 increase. And then we're anticipating around 20,000 in LMIG funding. Again, that may be a little low, but I'd rather be under than over. So that's where that comes into play. As far as expenditures, as far as City Hall administration, the proposed budget is $280,594. That's a 19% increase. Some of that has to do with, we are proposing to bring on 2 part-time people. One would work approximately 10 hours a week, one approximately 30. The 10-hour-a-week person currently is our contract finance person, who does a great job as far as keeping separation of duties, keeping us in compliance with the audits, bank reconciliations. And then the 30-hour-a-week person would be who we would hope to bring on as our visitor center person, our webmaster person. As you all know, we get a lot of comments and concerns from citizens about wanting to improve the online platform that we have. We are investing to completely update the city website, and then as well as just somebody that can help with administrative support. Buildings and grounds, we're proposing $148,800. That does represent a 124% increase. However, 60%, $60,000 of that is proposed for the renovation of the visitor center, which would be the new City Hall, council chambers, visitor center. And then $30,000 of that would go towards a proposed pickleball court, As you all know, that's a very popular sport here in the city. We've had a lot of citizens come forward and say they would like to see another court built. There is, when the two courts were built, there is a graded out place there where it looks like it was anticipated for that court to be built. So that is the lion's share of that increase. And then also we've added an extra $6,000 into the buildings and grounds to do some trailhead or trail restoration down at the Mud Creek Falls. There's some, we leased that area from Merrill. There's some, we've identified some work that needs to be done. Last year or earlier this year, excuse me, James Holbrook, before he left, he and I ran some numbers and we were anticipating about $6,000 to do that work. So that's where the increase for that comes from. The police department, the proposed budget is $399,996. That's actually a 1% reduction. A lot of that reduction is them making an extraordinary effort to try to reduce some of their overtime. And then also we're looking at possibly buying one, maybe two police cars with SPLOST funds to replace the Subarus. Those vehicles are aging, and for lack of a better word, they become a money pit with constant maintenance. So hopefully we're going to see if we can replace those. We will see a reduction because that has become a pretty significant expense, just the constant maintenance of those. Another large expenditure is the fire. Proposed is $93,205. That is a 5% increase over this year, which was $88,000. They had originally asked for 1.5% of the millage rate, which would be around $97,000, $98,000. But the 5% increase would incorporate about a 1.45 mil increase. And then finally, roads. That we're proposing a 53% increase from 246,000 to 376. Of that $130,000 increase, we're proposing $100,000 of that to go toward road maintenance. 23,000 of that will be proposed for a capital expense for a Kubota UTV. We know right now it's not a good time to try to buy vehicles. However, we've identified that is a vehicle that could be used that has a bed. It's like a mini truck. You can put a snowplow attachment, and it can kind of get into the nooks and crannies that a vehicle can't typically get into. And of course, this year we only budgeted, or the budget was $10,000 for road maintenance. That's really not a lot of money for almost 30 miles of road. In fact, we have an issue on Forest Court right now that I'm waiting on the estimate to come through. And I would call that an emergency repair, and that alone is going to be over $10,000, I'm sure. So in a nutshell, that is the overview of the revenue and expenditures. And I can provide more detail. However, I can also hush if anybody has any questions.
Were you going to go over your PowerPoint?
Yes, there is a PowerPoint. Anybody, if you go to the Sky Valley GA, it's attached, as well as the budget. It's about 5 or 7 slides. A lot of this I've kind of discussed on the revenue, the $1,380,459. Property tax would be $1,011,930. Franchise taxes, $53,000. Permit fees around $26,000. Approximately $71,000 in grants, around $30,000 in fines, $37,000 hotel motel, and then approximately $80,000 in sale of assets. And then there's another $70,000 that's miscellaneous revenue. If you break that down into percentages, property tax accounts for about 73%. Our charges for services, 12%, investments, 7%, grants, 5%, miscellaneous, 3%. So about 75% out of every dollar is property taxes. On our expenditures, as I discussed, the totals, to kind of give you percentages. Let me admit somebody in. I apologize there. I'm trying to do both here. Bruce is coming in, so there we go.
All right.
Um, Administration is approximately 20%. Building and grounds would be 11%. The police department would be approximately 29%. Fire, 7%. Roads, 27%. And then miscellaneous 6%. That would be everything from marketing to Bob Powers to events, et cetera, et cetera. And again, we are proposing about $121,000 in capital expenses. Just to rehash that, 60,000 of that would go towards the visitor center renovation. 30,000 proposed for the third pickleball court. 30,982 would be the Kubota, as well as the $8,000 annual lease purchase on one of the squad cars. So again, that PowerPoint is available. It's only about 6 or 7 slides, so it's not that. I think it does a good job of kind of reiterating what I'm discussing here without really bogging you down with a bunch of details and minutia.
Jason, I appreciate your hard work and the council members who participated in developing this proposed 2022 budget. I wanted to mention that Jason was asked to include some expenditures for some possible future projects to establish their feasibility as far as can we afford them before going forward with the council and committee workings and public input. I wanted to throw that in there. All right, council, this is your opportunity to comment, ask questions.
Well, first of all, I would like to commend Jason for the PowerPoint. In years past, we've had nothing but the crazy accounting sheets that are, you really have to take notes to figure out, what's going on. And this is the easiest that it's ever been for me to get a high level understanding of what the budget is. I mean, of course, you still have to go in and look at some of those revenue sources if you want to ask questions about those, but it's all there. So thank you for that. I would also thank you all for formalizing the city's contribution to the marketing committee. In the past years, we've sometimes it seemed like a POA was carrying the load, and now we're back to full strength. We're not contributing in kind. We're actually contributing financially, and I think that's an important step. Let me give up the floor so that the other folks can ask questions.
Do you have any questions, Jim?
My questions would be on page 5, the key points to consider. One of the things that I don't see on explicitly is the funding for the south entrance to Sky Valley, and perhaps you could comment on that, on how we're going to do that.
We are still that is planned to be done this year. Still, we are still lacking 2 easements to be signed. I have spoken with these property owners, and let me preface that I had a conversation with our city attorney about trying to move forward, and he really recommended that we get all of these. It's just people are busy, COVID world.
Mm-hmm.
The key is trying to be persistent without being a pest, but I've been thoroughly following up, and I anticipate I did get one back Friday. We were needing 3 at one time. We're now down to 2. I did speak with these 2 property owners. We actually had a meeting with one late last week, myself and the mayor and a couple of council members. They have committed to providing that easement, and then there's another property owner. I spoke with them, and they've assured me that they're going to get that. But anyway, once we get those back and get those filed, I will be bringing a recommendation for a tree trimming company. There's about 5,000 linear feet or approximately 1 mile of right of way that needs to be cleared. We do have those quotes. It's my understanding those quotes are still valid. And of course, the county is going to come in and do some in-kind work. We did receive some of that American Rescue Funds. There's around $51,000. That money is sitting there. And unless I'm told different, the plan is to utilize some of that money to do these improvements. So the last time I spoke with Mr. Giles, the county administrator, they are still planning on trying to come in hopefully late November, early December. The tree guy said he would take about 6 to 8 days to do the clearing. So the plan is still to have that done and funded through that using those American Rescue Funds.
Jason, you
Okay.
also mentioned earlier at another meeting that you were going to have a company mark our center line for that particular roadway
I did
also.
speak with Appalachian Surveying. We had a meeting the other day. They're like everybody else, they're just covered up. But once we get the easements back, they actually did the original staking for that 30 years ago. So hopefully that will not be that big of an ordeal or a major expense. But we have a pretty, you can still see where the ditches are at, kind of good baseline of understanding, but they are going to try to come in and just kind of help us identify where the true center of the road is. So we're not 20, 30 feet on this side or 10 feet on this side. We're trying to stay in the true center.
So what does that, within our current budget, what are the expenses that are going to go for that? Is it just the tree clearing, just the gravel?
The tree, I did receive 3 quotes. One was 21,000, one was 25,000, one was 27,000. Probably would recommend we go with the lower of those 3. These are all reputable firms. Again, it's a pretty big undertaking. You're looking at about 6 to 8 days of crews out there clearing these out. That would be planned, or be the funding plan for that would be using some of those American Rescue Funds to do that. You can use that towards infrastructure. The other stuff, the county has made a commitment to help with some culverts, some piping, to help with some of the grading. So there may be some costs beyond that, but we do have funding set aside that we plan to do that. And of course, I want to stress that originally or initially it will be a gravel road. The goal will be to ultimately pave that, but the plan is for it to be a passable gravel road that people can go in and out of.
Okay, great. And in my understanding would be, or my personal understanding, I just based on experience, that the grading and the ditches and the culverts are probably easily the most expensive part of the whole process. And the county is doing that for us. Is that right?
That's my understanding. I mean, we haven't been given a dollar commitment, but we've been given a verbal commitment that they will help provide, certainly the heavy equipment as well as some of their piping and so forth.
Right.
Okay, great. And I look forward to getting that road paved for all weather access and everything, because I'm just, the more I live in Sky Valley, the more amazed I am that how quickly the roads deteriorate on the steep places if they aren't paved.
There's a question here from
I think it's from Steve. Mhm.
Is there a plan for road maintenance, and does it include the culvert by the club?
Good question.
I was going to discuss that in my city manager's report, but since we're talking about that, I am waiting to get the final revised quote from our contractor, Cedar Farms, who we chose to do the culvert repair. The piping is in. I was told that it would take about a week to a week and a half if they have good weather to come in and replace those culverts before the head walls. Of course, I'm talking about the Sky Valley Way project. That money is in the bank. We did receive a EEE grant, an LMIG grant. We do have a little bit of SPLOST money. So that is still planned to be done this year. And the money is there sitting there drawing interest as we speak. But that money, that project is slated and is fully funded. So that will be done under this year's budget. Um, and there's a question about the water fund, but I haven't got to that yet. I'll answer that when we get to that point. But there was a question as far as road maintenance. As you all know, we have tons of dips. We have tons of potholes. We have broken edges. We have culverts that need to be replaced. I've had some conversation with Jerry Shope, our Public Works Director. Again, we are recommending $100,000 be set aside for road maintenance and repair. We only budgeted $10,000 for this year. We've spent approximately $7,000 of that already. And again, as I mentioned, we are waiting on Cedar Farms, the company that that's going to do our culvert repair. I'm waiting for a quote from them as far as the Forest Court. That's up above Wildbird. There's a culvert that's failing there where the road is actually caved and buckled in a couple of places. The Public Works guys have done the best patching that they can. We had Precision Paving come out with their existing workload, and it's little kind of above what they can do as far as their equipment. But I did ask the question when I had the contractor come out last week, would it be over $10,000? And he said it would be. So as you can tell, it doesn't take very long to spend $10,000. So that 900% increase from 10,000 to 100,000, if this budget is as proposed, is approved, will be diligently used. And of course, that really, with almost 30 miles of road, that doesn't go very far.
Jason, would you also mention the upcoming vote on the T-Splost and how important it is to that initiative to keep our roadways and culverts in good shape?
Yes, Madam Mayor. There is as you all know, we put out a little bulletin the other day. Even though there's no city elections, there is a T-Splost referendum. That is anticipated to generate about $17 million over 5 years. Being a T-Splost, just like a regular splosh effort, this is earmarked for transportation improvements only. And the way that it's been structured and negotiated, whereas on the SPLOST, the most recent SPLOST, we got a little under 400,000. With the T-Splost, if this were to be passed, the city would get approximately 1.9 million, 1,970,000, right, just shy of actually $2 million over that time period. That's money that could go towards road maintenance, paving, equipment. We do have some pretty heavy equipment that's aging, big ticket items, and of course that would go a long way towards that. So of course there's no guarantees that'll pass, and we still have to maintain the roads, hence the increase from 10,000 to 100,000. But if that were to pass, that would certainly help the city with our almost 30 miles of roads that we try to maintain.
Jason, is a way that we can publicize the T-Splost vote coming up by, something that we email out to everybody?
There
Because
was
this
a
is amazing.
MailChimp. There
He
was a
did.
MailChimp. Karen was gracious enough to get out a
Okay.
MailChimp, I believe earlier this week. And we wrote a little snippet, just advising that that's out there, but it would be a countywide vote. But yeah, that is, just wanted to let people know that even though there's no city elections, that is on the agenda, and that early voting has started if anybody did want to vote and participate.
Well, we may not really get our share of the original SPLOST. We get about 2% of that because it's based on population. But we get about, I think, if I recall correctly, we get about 10% of the T-Splost because we've got 30 miles of road. And the formula is miles of road plus what your 3-year average spending has been
Correct.
on road maintenance. So we come out way ahead of where we do on the other SPLOST. So this could be the most important vote for Sky Valley in a long time.
It's actually, I think, like 11.8%, 11.5%. Yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Let's get to
Any
the
other-
other question.
The other question has to do with the water fund. I can provide a quick overview on that if that's okay. I know we're at the 10 o'clock hour, but I'll be brief with that and try to answer any question. But the proposed revenue for the water fund is $452,500. Looking at the average over the past few years, we're averaging about $440,000. We're averaging between 2 and 3 water taps a year. Each water tap is around $2,500. We do know there's going to be some houses being built next year, so we're anticipating about $7,500 in that. Late fees and interest, they average around $3,000 to $4,000 a year. And then fortunately, with the balance that we keep in the checking account, it averages about $100, $120 a month in interest. So that'd be about another $1,500. As far as expenditures, there is some increases in salaries. I know there's a question about salaries, healthcare, et cetera. We do, the city does pay up to $700 per month reimbursement in insurance. Not everybody's is that amount, but you still have to cover that funding in the event if somebody's insurance changes. We do have some people, maybe their insurance is $200 or $300 a month. However, you still need to budget money for that maximum amount. So just because you see that 22,400, it may not be half of that, but you still have to budget for that. The question as far as other expenses, there's some $7,000 tank cleaning. That is a mandate that we have to do that has not been done the past few years. We've already coordinated that company that does the cleaning. Of course, one of the tanks does have a small leak. They're going to address that as well. The company's out of Montana. They do the northern states in the summertime. They do the southern states in the wintertime. So the earliest they'll be here will be next year. If you do notice, yes, there has been some increase. In salaries, we do have a couple of employees, particularly one that's got his water certification. But the key to that is if you look at under the technical services, that's dropping down to around $20,000. We pay a contractor to do our water testing every month. That ranges anywhere from about $1,200 to $1,800 a month for them, depending upon the level of testing that they do. We are planning on bringing that completely in-house January 1st of next year. So certainly any small raises that we provided for these people getting this certification, it will certainly be much less than the 15 to 20,000 that we're paying a year. And okay, all right, well, thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry, that was the chief saying. I guess there's people waiting on the 10 o'clock meeting.
Jason, I think the question that Steve had was, if you look at the regular employee salaries, it's quite a significant increase.
Well, one thing too that we're restructuring one of our employees' salaries, because they do work with the water department, the trash department, as well as admin. In the past, they were being paid 100% by admin. Now a third of their salary is being paid by water. So that's going to be an increase right there. And also a third of their salary is going to be in trash. So that's going to be part of the increase there. And of course, a third of their health insurance. So that's one of the reasons why we see an increase. There's been some restructuring. Some of the employees that maybe have been assigned to one department have been moved to another. So that's another reason for that. And then as well as, of course, we have proposed a 5% COLA.
Right.
So there's just to be competitive, we have lost people. We've lost one employee due to wages. We're fixing to lose another due to wages. And of course, we know the way things are now. If you want to keep good people and maintain the services that citizens expect, we have to pay our folks. So hopefully that addressed that question there. And then of course, the workers' comp, That was actually, that changes year to year. And last year it was actually, I think on several of our departments, we actually under budgeted for that. We tried to adjust for that. So that's one of the reasons why you're seeing increases in that too. Question, salary is more than doubled. Why? I just kind of addressed that. There has been some increases. We did move some people around from one department to the other. And then just, of course, just trying to be competitive. So hopefully that's answered that question. I'll be glad as we get off this meeting, if anybody wants more detail, I'll be glad to try to address that if need be. But hopefully that answered that question there.
Did we give
Well,
our
very quick-
employees,
I'm sorry.
did we give our employees a raise this year over last year
Well, we have proposed
in a general way?
a 5% COLA. Some employees, if they're working towards certifications, things that will help the city, that they're proposed to see a small merit increase. But again, for example, one of our employees just got his CDL. That was a critical need that we identified. I'm going to talk about that in my city manager's report there. Even though they did get an increase, it's still far less than what they can make if they were using their CDL for other things. So again, certain licensing, certain CDLs, as these employees become more valuable, we do think long-term, even though some of these people have gotten, I would consider small incremental raises, because we're going to be reducing some of these contracted services, we should see a savings overall.
Good.
Again, we're like, it's
Good.
not to beat this to death, but we do pay a contractor between $12,000 and $15,000 a year to do our testing. Our gentleman that's got a raise, his raise is probably a third of that. So you can kind of do the math there. Any
Madam Mayor,
questions?
Madam
Go
Mayor,
ahead.
if there aren't any other questions, we need to get to the council meeting.
Just real quick on the trash fund. The biggest concern we have is our tipping fees. That's averaging between 30 and 35,000 a year. I know there's some service delivery stuff, and hopefully we'll adjust that. But we do show your enterprise fund, you can generate a profit from that. We do show that at the end of the year, we do anticipate both of those making money. Of course, with your water fund, we have our $126,000 that we spend a year in our debt service, and then a $23,000 capital purchase for the other Kubota that would be used for road clearing, snow plowing, water meter reading, etc.
Well, I'm sorry we've run out of time. Thank you all to the citizens that have participated in this hearing. We will have our second hearing tonight at 6 o'clock online, and you certainly are welcome to join us again if you have additional questions, or please contact Jason. He can help with the questions, and I'm sorry we're going to have to stop this right now. And I guess we all need to clock
I'm gonna
off.
log
and
out.
clock-
I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna end this meeting again. This is the first of 3 public hearings.
Yeah.
I'm gonna end this, and I will get the 10 o'clock meeting started now. See you in just a second. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Yeah.